What is up, everyone? It is New Year's Eve. I am out at South Mountain State Park. I'm headed on back in for a little bit of a overnight gear shakedown. I'll do something a little different, I think, than a lot of what I see out there. I see a lot of people do just like a gear video first, and then they might do a shakedown or two after that. I think the route I'm going to go is I'm going to kind of do this little hike in today and camp out, do a gear overview with what I have. I will be assembling a complete gear list and uploading it on the Trek, but for now I just had to get out. Couldn't wait. I'm going to hike on in and see what today brings, see how my gear works for me. It's low 50s right now. It's about 35 this morning, and it's gonna get down below freezing tonight. Should be, I think, 31, maybe upper 20s, but it's gonna dip right below freezing. But anyway, we'll see how this goes. I'll probably do another gear shakedown too, a few weeks from now, a month out from the trail, something. And then once I have every single piece of gear dialed in and chosen exactly how I want it, then I'll set everything out, go piece by piece, talk about what I've learned, where I'm going with it, and what I'm hoping for the rest of the gear. So, onward. So once I get to camp, I'm gonna take everything out of my pack, show you everything that's in it, what all I have, kind of go through my whole setup. Well, it just helped a couple that was lost. You never know. I mean, they're literally less than a mile from the parking lot, but there's a network of trails that kind of all come together and spring off in different directions, and they really just turn around and don't know where they're going. So if you have a second map, you can really help a brother out. Possum Trail, let go. Well, so this is gonna make for my first crossing. I'm not gonna get my shoes wet because that water's cold, and I know that I have a good bit more mileage to go today. I did bring my Chacos with me. Don't have my camp shoes dialed in yet. I don't know if I'm gonna go with Crocs or if I wanna go with some sort of a sandal, but I have my Chacos and I brought them with me today out of fear of this very reason. We've had a lot of rain. Really in the last few days, really between Christmas and New Year, we've had a good bit. So I'm gonna take off this Capitoline zip right here. I am warm enough, and throw my Chacos on and get on through here. So now that I'm up and away from the water and you guys can hear me, what I need to know, how necessary is it for me to take my shoes off before a water crossing? As far as I've ever known, the general rule, don't get your feet wet, don't get your socks wet. Blister City, you're gonna get cold, no bueno. Well, I know a lot of people just plow straight on through the water and don't give it a second thought. Is weather a consideration? Temperature a consideration? Can I just do it? Right now, I'm very happy with how warm and dry my feet are. So to me, it's kind of worth it to take my shoes off. But give me your thoughts, guys. Comment down below. People who have done this, other thru hikers, let me know what I need to do. What do you advise? Crocs, do they work? Are they going to be too slippery? Should I get a sandal? I know some people are going to hike in sandals. They use those as their camp shoes and as their water crossing shoes to kind of serve multiple purposes. I am going to take some advice on that. You guys let me know. It's moments like these are the best invention in the world. Never really have used trekking poles until I started planning for the AT. And when you're covering a lot of elevation, I mean, way down there in the bottom, it's literally where I was 2 minutes ago. Trekking poles are just awesome. I love them, uphill, downhill. It's just like you have a constant handrail. Love them. Another beautiful thing about trekking poles is that you can do a little bit of light trail maintenance when you have some down limbs on the trail. Just a little flick of the wrist. I'll leave that one for the park staff. I guess right now is just as good a time as any to say that my feet are very happy. I've never had a pair of Ultra Lone Peaks before. All my hiking's been in a pair of hiking boots, like a Solo, hiking boots, Chacos, tennis shoes, quite frankly, a lot of the time, just Mizuno's or Asics or whatever it was I had at the time. But I love the toe box on these. I love the zero drop. I love that I can feel the ground underneath my feet. You feel nice and agile. My toes can splay out and actually feel the ground, help stabilize me. Sometimes in boots, even with the ankle support, you feel like you step on a rock and you know the sole of the boot can't, or the outsole I suppose, can't really contour around whatever it is you're stepping on. So I feel like I end up twisting and hobbling and being less sure-footed in a pair of boots than I am in these. Also, these darn tough socks rock. Looks like someone lost a lens at a pair of sunglasses back there. Anytime I see any trash or anything like that, I just pick it up, throw it in my pocket until I get to a point where I take my pack off, and then in the outer mesh pocket here on my pack, I just keep a little Ziploc bag labeled trash on it. And you know, you find a candy wrapper on the ground, you find an old lens from someone's glasses, whatever else, just toss it in there. Take 2 seconds, stop, pick it up, keep rolling. Just can't get over how beautiful of a day this is. It's windy, it's breezy. No, I'll call it windy. It's a little more than a breeze. It's still this windy at camp and at 30 degrees. It's a little cool. So a must have that I don't currently have: sunglasses. Well, this is really just the icing on the cake here before backtracking and heading into camp. You guys can't really hear it, but right down in there, you can hear the river and the falls a little louder than usual with the increased rainfall we've had the last couple of days. And if anyone's craving any civilization, that right there on the skyline, ladies and gentlemen, will be Charlotte. All right, well, I'm coming on into the campsite now. I'll whirl around and let you guys take a gander. Looks like I'm gonna have the place to myself tonight, unless someone else comes in. See if I can get set up. The water is actually also down back behind this site. I might run and just fill up my water bladder just so I have a couple of extra liters for cooking and whatnot. Water! I need water! All right, everyone. Sun is setting-ish, as you can see on my face. Just got to camp a couple of minutes ago. Went on down that way and got some water. And let me show you what I got on my pack and in my pack. We have our Black Diamond Trail Ergo cork trekking poles, as well as our Ceanoc 2-liter water bladder. This is just a couple of miscellaneous things I have off to the side right now. I've been keeping this just rolled up outside in my mesh pocket. But let's hit pockets, and then we'll go on to seeing what's in the pack. So as you'll see right here, I do have the Gossamer Gear Light Flex umbrella. Not a chance of rain today at all. I mean, as you guys have seen, it has been beautiful, not a cloud in the sky, but still wanted to model having a full pack. In terms of water bottles, right now I do have 2 1.5 liter smart water bottles. I'm only going to carry the 1 liters with me. That's my plan. For right now, I had 1.5s. I was just using one on each side just to make sure weight was balanced out. Have a little extra water, a little extra weight to kind of make up for a lack of some of the food that I'm gonna have. Up on top, that's a little snug right there. I did have my trekking poles up there on the way back from getting some water. Therma-Rest Z-Seat sit pad. It's come in handy a few times, taking a little break, sitting down on rocks, soggy ground. That's been nice. Here is my Patagonia Capilene Zip base layer that I took off earlier, right before I crossed that little stream. My little trash bag. My haul for the day. Found a couple of empty water bottles, the lens out of someone's glasses. I have a couple other things in my pocket too that I'll get out in a little bit. Chacos. Do have a little pack towel that I just keep clipped on here, right here with the carabiner. Use that to dry off earlier. Snack. Paper, that's something miscellaneous I was piddling with earlier. I do keep my tent stakes outside as of right now. I'm going to figure that out if I'm going to put those in my pack or not, but they seem to go well in the exterior pocket. Little outdoor research beanie. I'm definitely going to have that on in a little bit. Tent Labs Deuce 2, a little bit of Angel Soft to keep everything happy. Sawyer squeeze. Realistically on the trail, this squeeze is going to be on the top of one of my smart water bottles. For right now, I just had it in this little bag here. I'll definitely be testing this out in a bit when I filter said water. Backup map, gave that other one away earlier. Those strangers that were lost. 5-hour energy for in the morning because I have not weaned myself off of caffeine yet. And then just a miscellaneous little bandana for whatever. And other than that, that is what's been outside of my pack. All right, so in terms of what's inside of the pack, I'm gonna set this off to the side here. If I didn't mention earlier, this is a Hyperlite Junction 3400. This pack is. I like the fact that it has the solid side pockets and then, of course, the mesh center pocket in the back, drying things out, visibility, you see what you have. But if you ever want to tuck anything in that side pocket, keep anything from slipping, sliding out, if it's anything small, in my opinion, it's just nice to have the versatility that comes with having those different styles of pockets. So what I keep in top as of right now in my bag is going to be my food bag. This is a Z-Packs bear bag kit. It has everything that comes with it. You order the kit. It's the roll top bag that's going to be waterproof. I'll go through my cook system in just a little bit whenever I'm making dinner. Yeah, that's what I have going on right here for now. Next is going to be my shelter. So I am using the Hyperlite Mountain Gear Echo 2 is what I'm using. It's a modular setup. So for those of you that don't know what that means, it has a tarp. You set up the tarp, and then you have the insert, which is going to be the bug net with kind of that bathtub bottom that's going to keep you all nice and dry. I mean, the tarp's going to keep you dry over top, and then you have the bug netting with, of course, the waterproof bottom and the sides. It also has a front little vestibule type, they call it the beak, is the attachment that you put on it, where you can keep your pack, keep your shoes, that type of thing. So I'm going to be setting this up in a minute, throwing everything else in it as well. So one thing that I really like about my setup with my pack is that if I were to take my pack and flip it over and just dump it out upside down on the ground, out would fall 5 nice neat little pods or sacks or dry bags or whatever you want to call it, but it's kind of a nice little setup there. So I have my own, of course, food bag, and then shelter has its own bag, and then next is going to be here is going to be my sleep system. So in this bag here, I have sleeping pad, I have my Feathered Friends 20-degree quilt, and I also have my Sea to Summit Aeros pillow. I'll be getting that set up for you guys in just a bit. What else? Next is going to be Hyperlite makes pods. So I have 2 pods. I have a small pod. This is going to become some kind of miscellaneous type stuff. And then I have a large pod in the bottom, which is holding the majority of my clothes. One thing that I really like about these pods is that if you can see, it kind of is shaped almost like a D almost. That is roughly more so exactly the shape of the inside of a Hyperlite pack. So the back where the frame is going to be flat, and then you have the arched, rounded shape of the pack itself. So when you drop 2 of these straight down into the pack, it brings me immense joy to know that 0 space is wasted. And I love the fact that Hyperlite has system, if you will. I like these pods a lot. In this pod in particular, I can go through this in a bit, but this is going to have my first aid kit. This is going to have my battery bank. This is going to have, what else is in here? My rain gear is in here. I also have a journal in here, and I do have a book in here at the moment. I'm not going to take a book on the trail. I will take possibly AWOL's guide. I do have a digital version of that, but that'll probably, if I'm taking any physical hard copy of a book, it's going to be AWOL's. Ironically enough, the book I brought with me is AWOL on the Appalachian Trail. And then the last pod is going to be my large pod. This is going to have my clothes in it. So camp shirt, other base layers, socks, down puffy, all of that is going to be in here. So those are my 5 pods. And then also in here too, I did get a pack liner. This is just off of Gossamer Gear site. Works well, fits the pack pretty well. I wish it were a little bit longer. It's not that tall. So pretty much I can get my bottom 3 little, I can get my 2 Hyperlite pods in it, and I can get my sleep system in it. Don't know if I mentioned it, but this is just a Z-Packs big roll top dry bag is what that is. So I can get those 3 in there. Then I roll the top of this down on top of those. Shelter goes on top, and then the food bag goes on top as well. This Dyneema composite that this pack is made out of, this is waterproof material, but with the construction, even though the seams are sealed and everything else, it's really hard for anything to be, any system to be like fully waterproof. So anyway, little extra insurance just in case. Just to kind of show you what I have real quick in here in terms of clothes. This is my large Hyperlite pod. This is going to be my down puffy right here. This is just a Patagonia down sweater. I've had this for, 8 years, I believe. So got this actually back in high school. Served me well. Served me through 4 long winters at Appalachian State University. It's been all over the country. It's been with me everywhere. This thing's awesome. Backup pair of Darn Tough socks. You know, I have a pair on. These are some longer, thicker, smart wool socks right here that I'm going to throw on. These are going to be my camp socks, never to be worn on trail. But these are my camp socks here. These are my base layers for my legs. Smart wool base layers, the 250 merino wool base layer there. I like the way that they fit. They're nice and tight. They're snug. Some bottoms get loose and kind of bunch up and stuff. They're not too tight, but they're snug enough. This is just I don't know, I got this from Academy Sports. This shirt was maybe $8 or $9. This is just a lightweight hiking t-shirt. Just that BCG brand, just something for whenever it's not cold enough to wear a long sleeve shirt. You got this. And then this is going to be my camp shirt right here. This is just REI brand. It's like a long sleeve kind of merino wool line synthetic, it feels like. I'll have to go back and look at the specifics on that, but yeah, so this is going to be my camp shirt here. Alrighty, so this pod here, this is my smaller Hyperlite pod. Right now it has a couple of things. So this is my buff. This is the Buff brand. It's the lightweight normal buff that they have. Thin, keeps your neck warm, versatile. You can turn it into a headband if you want. You can do a lot of different things with it. So I brought that without knowing how cold it was going to get tonight, and with me having a quilt instead of a mummy bag. I brought this in case my neck gets cold. This is essentially a buff, but this is a thicker merino wool buff that I actually use when I go skiing. So I brought this with me just in case it gets uncomfortably cold, because I have not stayed out in my bag, at least in this temperature. So we'll see how that goes. Journal, book, kind of a first aid kit with some miscellaneous right here. So band-aids, I have alcohol wipes, set of latex gloves, vitamin I, got my Neosporin, water treatment, Doc Bronner's, so we're good to go with that set there. Brought some gloves. REI brand is the Wind Pro, I think is what they're called. Wind Pro. Pretty nice. They're thin. You can still use your phone and everything with them. So it's a nice solid set of gloves. Rain pants. So my rain gear, I decided that I was going to go with Lightheart gear. That's what I was going to go with. This is a company that's based in North Carolina. Super lightweight rain gear. When it comes to rain gear, I know that there are a lot of different considerations in terms of what's going to be the most waterproof. Is it going to be breathable? I'm not going to spend $400 on a rain jacket. I'll probably show a little bit more about this at some point. I'll put everything on, but as of right now, I have worn everything. I've tried it on several times, moved around in it a bit. Pretty happy with it. And then here's going to be my battery bank and everything. I have a RAV Power 10,000 milliamp hour battery bank. I'm gonna have my Anchor Qualcomm Quick Charge, plug it on into the wall there. I also have my Anchor. Essentially it's a 6-foot braided lightning cable is what it is, but anyway, that's what I have in those bags. So here is my shelter. Need to adjust that tarp just a little bit, but as you can see, it's clearly two separate pieces. You have the tarp on top, and then you have the bug net insert, if you will. This back panel right here is going to keep you dry from anything splashing up off the ground. The sides, the tarp covers the mesh part, and then of course you have kind of those bathtub type sides on that insert that are going to keep you dry there. And then here, this little front piece right here is called the beak, and that is detachable. So I'm going to leave it on usually. You just zip her up. Then you kind of have a little vestibule type area. You keep your pack in over there on the side. So one thing that you guys might notice about this shelter is that it doesn't have very much headroom, but it is rather deep. So I'm 6'4". Headroom is going to be a problem in this. I went with this shelter knowing that I wasn't really going to have any headroom in it. I wanted to have plenty of room to lay down. I want to have plenty of room to be comfortable. I don't need living space in a shelter. I'm in it to sleep. You know, there's going to be plenty of times along the trail to where I'll be able to socialize and be in an actual shelter proper. But in terms of this as my modular system, I'm happy with it. So next piece in kind of my sleep system, if you will, is going to be my sleeping pad. So what I have here is a Therma-a-Rest NeoAir XLite. The difference with this one from what a lot of other things out there, everyone just has the standard. With me being a little bit of a bigger guy, I did go with the large. So with the large pad, a few differences there. You're looking at 4 ounces more in terms of weight. So instead of 12 ounces, you're looking at 16. Thickness, you're still looking at about 2.5 inches, which is the same regardless whether you're going with the large or the regular. R value of 4.2, which is still going to be the same. Other differences are going to be the length of it. You're looking at 77 inches instead of 72 inches. So that extra 5 inches is going to help me. Being 6'4", I need that little bit extra. Also with the width, with the large, you're getting 25 inches of width rather than 20 inches of width. Next piece is going to be my Feathered Friends 20 UL Flicker Quilt. So why quilt? Well, first of all, in this quilt, they have several different options. They have a 40 degree, a 30 degree, and a 20 degree bag. This is the 20. Going with the quilt as opposed to a mummy, I've had mummy bags in the past. I like mummy bags, nothing against a mummy bag. It doesn't bother me to have it over my head. It doesn't bother me to have it cinched up kind of around my face. That's not a problem for me at all. I think that going with a 20 degree quilt is going to give me the most amount of versatility when it comes to being able to use this bag for the entire duration of the trip. I've heard stories of people that decide that they're going to start off with a 10 degree bag. They find that that's great when they're starting off, but then it starts to warm up a little bit. So you switch out a 10 degree bag and you maybe go and get a 30 or 40 degree bag. Well, then you get to the Smokies and it starts getting colder, and then you want to go back to a colder bag. So you have to borrow someone else's bag, and then you get further on up the trail, and then it's summertime, and then like, well, you're stuck with a 20, 30, 40 degree mummy bag. You want to send that on home and maybe get something else for those summer months. With this quilt, I feel like it's light enough, and you can open it up to where you can zip it all the way down, have it open like it's a blanket. I think that I'm going to be able to use this from start to finish. Now, last but certainly not least, camp pillow. So this is the Sea to Summit Aeros inflatable pillow, that little valve right there. Give it 2 breaths, you're blown up, you're good to go. I've slept on this a couple of times. It seems to be pretty comfortable, so we'll see what it's going to do for me tonight. I know a lot of people just like use their down puffy as a pillow, go no pillow. For how little this weighs, and with what I expect to be the amount of comfort that it's going to bring me over the duration of the trail, I think this is going to be a nice little addition. Now, I did forget to show you what I have in the hip belt pockets of my pack. So as of right now, over on the right hand side, I'll end up keeping this probably inside of one of my dry sacks, but this is just what my pack towel came in, and here I keep my license, debit card, a little bit of cash. Burt's Bees, got the chapstick, that's going to be going in my food bag in a little bit when that goes up. Anti-chafing stuff, never had to use it, but I've heard this is good stuff. I figured that it might as well be good to have it in the weeks and months ahead as I'm getting prepped up. What else do I have in here? I have my headlamp. You know, my keys rattling around in there. This is my Black Diamond Spot. I have a pen, headphones, and keys. Oh, and what's also usually in there? Kershaw Leak, just a little pocket knife. So now that camp is set up, I have a little bit of firewood ready if I want to get a fire going in just a few. But before that, it is time for me to eat. I really haven't had anything to eat since breakfast this morning. Sorry, Mom. Promise I'm going to do better when I'm on the trail. But what are we looking at for dinner? Gonna have some good old Mountain House lasagna with meat sauce. Gonna wash it down with the Snickers, a little some sort of a dark chocolate almond butter cup. What am I cooking it on? MSR Pocket Rocket 2. Pot that I am using and taking with me is going to be the Toaks. It's titanium 900 milliliter pot. Hello, long-handled titanium sport. So one thing that I'm definitely going to be doing here, cook system wise, I'm going to be going with the smaller gas canister. So this canister right here, it will fit. This is one of the larger-ish ones, and not the biggest you can get, but one of the larger ones. It will fit inside of this pot, but the stove itself will not fit inside of the pot with this size gas canister. So if I'm going to go with a smaller size gas canister, it'll easily fit in here. I can wrap it in a bandana or whatever I need to do. Then the stove is going to be able to fit in there nicely. It's all going to be enclosed, nice, one convenient piece. This Toaks pot comes with a little bag, has a little sleeve that your lighter goes into, which currently just have a little clipper in there. But yeah, then everything's going to be nice all in one place. So just check out the privy, surprisingly clean, very, very clean. So in the morning, I guess I'll decide whether I'm using that or my trowel. But man, it's just beautiful end of the day. Beautiful end to a beautiful day. Moon's out. It's gonna be a nice way to bring in the new year, for sure. So I got a little fire going here. Nothing too fancy. Hard time getting it going. Everything's kind of still wet, really cold. Fortunately, I guess maybe some scouts or someone had been here at a spot a little bit further up, and they'd split a bunch of wood. I mean, you could tell they'd had a hatchet or something with them, because there was some wood that was definitely split up, and grabbed some of that. And once I could finally get a little piece of heart pine going that I found, just kind of layered on top of it, and we have something to work with for right now. Let's see if I can keep this thing going, and we'll see what the night brings. I'm good and toasty right now. I've switched out. I have on my camp socks and my chacos now. I have on my outdoor research beanie and have my headlamp on, and I threw on my my Smart Wall little leggings. I have my down puffy, and have on my base layers. So as of right now, I'm snug as a bug in a rug. Alrighty guys, well, I'm in for the night. It's probably 8:30, 8:45 right now. Fire's out. I'm in my bag. Everything seems nice, comfy, cozy. No real wildlife out tonight. I was kind of thinking I might see a possum up in a tree or some deer along a clearing, but anyway, nothing really to speak of. Heard a couple owls hooting away, but I don't know if I could hear any wildlife tonight anyway with the wind that's whipping through the trees. I am surprised that I have not heard any fireworks with it being New Year's Eve, but I don't know. Those might be to come. It is a little early. So I'm gonna take it easy. My phone's hooked on up right now to my battery bank. All that's working well, so no issues with that. I'll be sleeping with it tonight, with it getting down below freezing, not to drain the battery or anything. And yeah, we'll see how the night goes. So guys, as you can see, definitely made it through the night. I stayed warm. I felt cold, but my bag kept me warm. Really, really windy. My shelter's a little loose right now. Wind was whipping on through. There were some, I would guess that some of the gusts were maybe in the 20, 30 mile an hour range. It was whipping on through here pretty good, but took down camp from inside of my shelter without a problem at all. Got everything put in my pack right there in the little vestibule area. And now I'm going to take down the tent, see about breakfast. Might potentially have a hot breakfast. I'll just see how I'm feeling here in just a few minutes. If not, I'll just throw a bar into my pocket and let it warm up and eat that on the way out. I only have like 4 miles on the way out this morning. Nothing crazy. One thing I will say about my shelter though, I'm very happy with the stakes that stayed in the ground. I'm using the 7-inch Z-Pack supersonic stakes around the exterior for the main tie-outs. There's 8 of them, and then there are 4 inner tie-downs for the insert. And what I'm using for those is just the titanium shepherd's hooks from Hyperlite. Seems to be fine to hold down the insert, but for holding down those main tie-outs, the shepherd hooks, at least for me, don't quite do the trick. All right, now with it being probably 28 out here, I'll be cautious, and I'm probably gonna throw this in my pocket for the way out. Hey, you can see my mustache through my buff. All right, so I made that executive decision. Breakfast for the day, I have a handful of apricots. I'm gonna have a handful of cashews, and then I'm gonna throw this little Kind breakfast bar in my pocket and let this thing thaw out a little bit. I'll eat that once I get on the trail. Well, I am leaving camp right now. Broke everything down. Can't tell I was there. That wood was there when I got there. Headed on out. Feeling good. I am so happy that I stayed warm last night. My feet always get cold. I did throw on I threw on a pair of Darn Toughs over at the top of those Smart Wools just to be a little preventive. There's nothing worse than getting cold and then having to try to warm up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I wasn't having any of that. I also took off my down. It was way too hot in that bag. I could not wear this down puffy inside of that bag. So I also took it off and just threw it down at the bottom. With this quilt, it cinches up really tightly around the bottom, so it's snug. But I figured if I could stop any sort of draft, might as well. Next time I'm out, I'll try just 1 pair of socks and no down puffy at the bottom and see how that goes. But I did not want to get cold last night, and worked out well for me. Beautiful sunrise, by the way. So as I was going to sleep last night, I know I had said that I hadn't really heard many fireworks yet. 11:57, the most insane cacophony of explosions I may have ever heard in my life. But it was just as good a time as any to get out of the tent and take a leak, I guess. So not gonna lie, I forgot about this part of the trail that I have to cross. I really don't want to put on my chacos. Sure as heck not going to backtrack. I guess it's time to just plow on through and see what wet shoes and socks feels like. So shoes are wet, but not as wet as I thought they would be. Water's not as cold as I thought it would be. No. We'll keep going. I have about 3 miles, so we'll see how this bit of water feels. It's not too much pooling in the shoe, but toes are wet. They're not cold though. So it's been about 10 minutes since I crossed that water back there. I had to stop and take off my puffy and my gloves. I warm up so quickly once I get moving. That being said, my feet, they might, I don't know, I'm trying to wiggle my toes right now as I'm walking. They might be wet, but if they are, I sure as heck can't tell. And my feet aren't cold in the slightest, so A+ to the the sock and shoe combo, I suppose. Alrighty guys, well, all good things must come to an end. Parking lot is in sight, so I'll be getting on down that way in just a minute. It's been a great way to bring in the new year. Appreciate you guys hanging with me and watching. For those of you who are gear junkies, for those of you that felt like this was an agonizing experience to watch, kind of a little bit of an informal and organic gear overview shakedown hybrid, I apologize. Once I have everything chosen the way that I want, gear wise, what I'll do is I'm going to sit down and do just a full-on gear only review at that point. This is when nothing else is changing. I'll put everything out on a tarp, go through it piece by piece, talk pros and cons, alternate considerations, and things like that. So anyway, guys, take it easy, enjoy the new year, and stay tuned.